shittiest thing I've ever done in my whole life.
It's okay, it's all worth it, man.
In January 2010, I attempted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. The goal, of course, was to reach its peak, standing at just under 6,000 meters above sea level. The day before the summit attempt, I fell sick. Through the cold, fever, and headaches, I pushed on. At just 7 hours away from the peak, I was forced to descend for health and safety reasons. I never made it to the top, and I returned home disappointed. Shortly after my return to Australia, my relationship with my partner of 5 years came to an end. And in the midst of coping with my failed relationship, I was rushed to the hospital for a lung collapse. The doctor told me if I had ignored the chest pains for more than the 2 days that I did, I might have died at home, alone. The next year or so went by really slowly, and I eventually recognized that my life was sinking into a depression, and I needed to snap out of it. I made a decision to take a short sabbatical and to give Mount Kilimanjaro a second try. Coming back here to Tanzania after 3 years was pure deja vu. And quietly within that deja vu was the presence of an unfulfilled dream.
About 3,000 meters, Shira Cave is at 3,800. Temperature now is about...
The first few days start off as a really long walk. Sometimes it does get a little bit more challenging.
It goes from here all the way up there.
The spectacular views never fail to impress, however.
Normally you sleep only 3 hours. Yeah. That's normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay.
Daniel did a remarkable job keeping us well fed, and I'll have to say some of the best breakfast with a view experiences that I've had in my life were had on a mountain. Conditions can get a little bit rough, but the weather isn't the biggest inconvenience, however.
It's about 10:30 p.m. 10:30 p.m. and we got up because we had to pee.
Now, this does become especially tricky at night, especially when the toilets are a little bit of a hike away. A mountain really does things to you. It does things to your mind. Things that you were doing just last week, sitting in the office or having that coffee at the cafe next door, all start to seem really distant. You have a lot of time to think, to reflect, but a lot of the time you are just waiting for the next climb. After 5 nights on the mountain, we finally reached Barafu Hut, the final camp. And it is from here that just before midnight, we would start our most challenging hike, an attempt to reach the summit.
Also, by that way, your knee, your muscles.
The pre-summit briefing by Amos was basically to highlight how most people are so focused on reaching the summit that They fail to be mentally and physically prepared for the descent, which is when most accidents happen.
Then to send down for 4 to 5 hours down there. Yeah. So keep on mind, but I have to go down.
Yeah.
Some of them, when they reach here, they don't want to move again.
It's not the end anymore.
But our permits tell us you have to move.
It's at times like these that I just sit down and think about all that I had done wrong. Mistakes that I made that I cannot undo.
Morning. It's 10:20 in the evening. Temperature is about 10 degrees. We're gonna do our summit attempt in about half an hour.
Let's do the wrong sprout.
The summit climb starts off in pitch darkness. All I could really hear was my own breathing, with the icy winds occasionally whipping past my face.
We just reached 5.5.
A little bit more.
Getting enough oxygen above 5,000 meters with only one good lung was hard enough. But if it was one thing I had to get right in my life, it was this. I had to push on.
There. That's the look of Kevin Wang.
It's the shittiest thing I've ever done in my whole life.
Okay, it wasn't exactly the shittiest thing I had ever done, but it was definitely the hardest challenge I had ever put myself through.
Mr. Amos,
Yes.
over there.
Yeah, do it.
I'm fine.
Mr. Dixon.
We're in collision.
Oh.
When we finally reached the peak, the sky was still dark, and there wasn't even the slightest hint of sunrise on the horizon. The winds were strong, it was extremely cold, and the air was desperately thin. We did not stay on the summit for more than 15 minutes. Shortly after we started our descent, I experienced the most beautiful sunrise, and in my state of extreme fatigue, a strong feeling of self-renewal washed over me, and I knew nothing stood between me and the rest of the world.
Hakuna matata, wakafika na shira. Hakuna matata, wakapanda baranko. Hakuna